Apple's first foldable iPhone was supposed to be the next big moment for smartphones, an iPhone that finally bends, flips, and competes head-to-head with Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold. A fresh wave of reports is creating confusion around one key question. Is Apple's foldable iPhone launching on time, or is it already slipping? And while Apple's timeline looks increasingly unclear, Samsung is reportedly preparing to strike back in a big way, with not one, but two Galaxy Z Fold-style launches, including a standard fold and a wider wide variant designed to directly challenge whatever Apple is building. So today, we're breaking down the newest foldable iPhone leaks, the conflicting launch timeline reports, the rumored iPhone Ultra name, the spec details being thrown around, and why Samsung's next Galaxy Z launches could land at the perfect time, especially if Apple stumbles. Let's start with the biggest headline. Apple's foldable iPhone launch timeline is suddenly uncertain. A new report from Nikkei Asia claims Apple has run into setbacks during the engineering test phase of its first foldable iPhone, according to multiple sources cited in the report. Apple has reportedly encountered complex issues during early production problems, serious enough that solving them is taking longer than expected. And if those issues don't get resolved quickly, the worst-case scenario could be a delay of several months. That's a big deal, because foldables aren't like normal phones. The hinge, the folding display layers, durability testing, crease control, battery packaging, and internal space constraints make every small issue harder to fix. And if Apple is trying to ship a foldable that meets iPhone-level standards on reliability and longevity, even a minor engineering problem can snowball into a major schedule risk. Now here's where things get messy. Earlier rumors suggested Apple's foldable iPhone could debut in September 2026, launching alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max, but Nikkei's report suggests that if the engineering setbacks continue, Apple's foldable iPhone could slide beyond that window, possibly to December 2026, or even early 2027. But then comes the conflicting reports. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman suggests that foldable iPhone is still on track and will launch in Apple's usual iPhone release window, September, without a major delay. So which one is right? Right now, we don't have confirmation either way. But the fact that multiple reports are clashing tells us one thing. Apple's foldable iPhone project is probably in a delicate phase. And if there's any category where Apple will delay rather than ship something imperfect, it's a brand new form factor like a foldable. Because for Apple, the first foldable iPhone can't just be good. It has to feel inevitable. It has to feel polished. It has to feel like Apple waited on purpose and then arrive with something that makes everyone else look early. And that leads us into the next big rumor, the name. According to another report, Apple's foldable iPhone might not be called Fold at all. Instead, Apple could brand it as the iPhone Ultra. That name matters for two reasons. First, Ultra instantly positions it as the most premium iPhone Apple sells above Pro Max. It prepares buyers for a price that could be dramatically higher than any iPhone before it. And speaking of premium, the rumored design points toward a book-style foldable similar in concept to the Galaxy Z Fold rather than a flip phone. The leak suggests a wider aspect ratio, with a 5.5-inch cover display and a 7.8-inch foldable inner screen. That's a very specific pairing, and it suggests Apple is targeting usability on the outside and a near tablet experience on the inside without going too narrow, which has been one of the long-running criticisms of some foldables. But the most talked about rumor is in size. It's the crease. The foldable iPhone's display is reportedly being supplied exclusively by Samsung Display, and the panel is said to have an almost no visible crease. That's huge, because the crease has been the most visible. This is still new tech sign on foldables for years, and the report goes even further. It suggests Apple may have developed crease reduction technology on its own, possibly trademarked, and that this Apple-driven approach could be part of how the iPhone Ultra differentiates itself. Here's what makes this especially interesting. Samsung's upcoming Galaxy Z series devices are also expected to take a major leap in crease reduction, with a more crease-free look and feel. So if this rumor is true, 2026 and 2027 could be the era where the crease problem finally stops, being the first thing people mention when they pick up a Foldable. Now, let's talk cameras and biometrics, because Apple may change more than you expect. The foldable iPhone is rumored to feature a dual camera setup on the back, plus a 24MP front-facing camera on each display. But one of the biggest surprises is this: it may not include Face ID. Instead, Apple could use a side-mounted capacitive fingerprint reader, basically Touch ID, on the power button. And honestly, that makes sense for a foldable. Face ID hardware takes space, and space is the one thing a foldable never has enough of, with two displays, a hinge system, and a thinner chassis. Apple could decide that a reliable side-mounted fingerprint sensor is the best compromise, essentially if it works seamlessly in both folded and unfolded modes. Now for the materials, because Apple is expected to go on premium. The chassis is rumored to use a titanium and aluminum alloy, while the hinge could combine stainless steel and titanium. That sounds like Apple's typical premium engineering play. Strong materials, a tight hinge feel, and durability that can survive real-world abuse. And then we get to thickness. Another major battleground for foldables, the foldable iPhone is rumored to be around 4.5 millimeters thick when unfolded, and roughly 9 millimeters to 9.5 millimeters when folded, if accurate. That would place it among the slimmer book-style foldable, which matters because thickness is one of the biggest factors in whether a foldable feels futuristic or feels like you're carrying two phones stacked together. Now let's talk performance and battery, because this is where Apple can really flex. The foldable iPhone is rumored to use the A19 Pro chipset, paired with 12 gigabytes of RAM and at least 256 gigabytes of internal storage. That's a flagship-level setup, and it suggests Apple is preparing for heavy multitasking, larger screen work, and the type of foldable productivity experiences that Samsung has been pushing for years. But the bigger shock is the battery. The foldable iPhone is rumored to have a battery between 5,400 mAh and 5,800 mAh. That's big, especially for an iPhone. And some reports suggest that battery capacity could be higher than what we may see in Samsung's upcoming foldables, like the Galaxy Z Fold 8 and the Galaxy Z Fold Wide variant, if Apple actually ships a foldable with that battery range. It tells you exactly what Apple is optimizing for: real all-day battery, not just foldable novelty. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Price. Leaks suggest Apple's foldable iPhone, possibly the iPhone Ultra, could cost anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500. That's not just expensive. That's a new tier of smartphone pricing, and at that price, Apple can't afford a launch that feels Apple can't afford durability doubts. Apple can't afford screen issues, hinge issues, or early-gen growing pains. So if engineering tests reveal even a small risk, delaying the product becomes the safer move. Now shift the camera to Samsung, because Samsung isn't just watching this happen, Samsung is preparing. Reports suggest Samsung could counter Apple's foldable iPhone with multiple Galaxy Z Fold series launches, including a standard version and a wide variant. The wide model rumor is especially important. If Apple is going wider with a more comfortable outer display and a broader inner screen, Samsung's response could be straightforward: launch a wider fold that directly removes one of Apple's potential advantages. And here's the strategic timing. If Apple launches in September, Samsung can build hype before that and dominate the foldable conversation earlier in the year. But if Apple delays to December or even early 2027, Samsung gets extra months, where it's the only major player shipping next-gen foldables at scale. More time on shelves means more sales, more mind share, and more ecosystem lock-in. And don't forget the most ironic twist in all of this: even if Apple's foldable iPhone becomes a massive hit, Samsung Display is rumored to be the exclusive supplier of the foldable panel.